Welcome to Toy Business Unboxed, your gateway to the secrets of the toy industry. Here, Jason Shea, a toy entrepreneur and expert in the field.
Every product we develop is really inspired by some of the real life experience that we have with our son.
60% of all toys last year were sold on Amazon, which is incredible.
Be passionate about it because it's a road, it's a journey.
Like when you have an idea that you think is like gonna somewhat like change the world, make things better, I'd say go for it.
We'll guide you through the enchanting world of toy design, marketing, and manufacturing. Now let the unboxing begin.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Toy Business Unboxed. Today we'll be diving into exciting world of board games with Ruud, the founder of Wulfhorn Games and also founder of Amsterdam Board Game Design. His passion for storytelling, strategy board games, and also eco-conscious production had led him to create multiple different games in his career. And he's also driving force on building a vibrant community for other game designers in Netherlands. So thank you so much for being on our show today.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me today to talk about what I do.
Yeah, so will you mind sharing with the audience, like, how does your journey into the board games kind of industry and the space begin?
Oh yeah, well, I hope you have I hope you have a lot of time, but no, it's it started like I don't know how other designers start, but I feel like it started unconventionally. But I am by trade, I am a graphic designer. I am focused in branding, and that's what that's what I have been doing for the last like 15, 20 years or something here in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. And I've always been a fan of board games, lover of the design of the games, but also the storytelling behind it. And some years ago, a colleague of mine left, and she loved board games as well. So as a goodbye gift, I made her a board game. And that board game was very much just about, it was not a very good board game, but it was a board game about running a design company.
Okay.
But there was something in there that I really enjoyed. There was some little mechanisms in there that I enjoyed. And that sort of like got out of hand. And that turned into my first game, which is called Stellar Expedition, which is a science fiction exploration game, sort of in the vein of Star Trek.
Okay.
So, that was just a hobby project. But that sort of snowballed into, and that was in 2021, I believe. 2022. And that sort of snowballed me getting into this larger sphere of board games, because I found out it was much bigger than I thought it was, much more interesting than I thought it was. And also I found out there's a lot of people like me in the small country of the Netherlands. We only have like 18 million people here in this country, but there's a lot of board game designers, and everybody is doing it on their own, or not everybody, but most of them. It's like they're just doing it as a hobby next to their job. They're doing just basically in their attic or in their basement, so to speak. And then I found out about, there was one group in the north of the Netherlands that had like a sort of like community built around that. They were working together to test each other's board games.
Okay.
And yeah, that's how it all started, because then I founded a similar type of group, but here in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands, and that was just Amsterdam Board Game Design. And from there on, I started to develop with other people. I started developing more of my games, and now I'm doing this full-time publisher, full-time designer for board games, but also doing a lot of like work on like helping other publishers and other designers in the field.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And that's actually one thing I want to talk a little bit more about, because that's something very unique with your background. You not only do your own publisher, but you're also having a community working with other, designer in the space. Can you tell like our listener a little bit more about what does the community do? How often do you guys get together? What are some of the do you do
Yeah, yeah,
trainings,
sure.
you do events and all that?
Sure, I'd love to tell you more about it. We started getting together in the Amsterdam group once a month.
Okay.
And as I told you, there were like other groups in the Netherlands that did a similar thing, but it
Yeah.
was they were a little bit farther away. It was
Sure.
like a 2-hour trip with the train.
Hmm.
So we did it once a month, and when we found out that okay, people wanted to do this more,
Yeah.
so we did it. Now we're doing it every 2 weeks.
Oh, well, okay.
But then we found out people wanted to do even more, and who came from different areas of the Netherlands, all to Amsterdam, or
Oh, okay.
to come and play. And then they were like,
Okay.
"Yeah, I need to drive for an hour. I need to take the train for 45 minutes."
Yeah.
So a lot of people started their own local groups. I mean,
Oh, okay.
you have
Okay.
to. The Netherlands is a bit of a weird country in a sense. Especially in some areas, it's very densely packed with a lot of people. But our
Yeah.
cities are relatively small, but they're very well connected.
Yeah.
So, but then still, people are like, yeah, if I have to travel 2 hours to go to Amsterdam from this city and that city. So now we're working together with all the other groups more tightly. We have our own
Oh,
Discord channel, uh,
okay.
and from Amsterdam Board Game Design, but also with the other groups that already existed.
I
We have
see.
one meetup channel, one Discord channel to communicate, and we are
Okay.
now in 12 different cities in the Netherlands,
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
and
Oh,
also one city in Belgium, because in Belgium they speak the same language as we do, at least in the north part. So
yeah.
we added that in our group as well. So it's not only Amsterdam anymore; it's bigger, but I still
Okay.
use the brand name
Yeah.
to communicate our events, because as you said,
Mm.
we also do events next to the normal meetups. Maybe I should explain a little bit more what those normal meetups are, because
Yeah. If you can, can you also talk about the format for the normal meetup?
yeah,
Yeah.
so the format is very, very loose. I mean,
Okay.
we are just a group of people that have a passion for board games and want to help each other out.
Yeah.
So we meet in different places. In Amsterdam, we meet at the Applied Sciences University.
Okay.
One of our members is a teacher there, and we can have a classroom there. But it's not a classroom per se. We're not giving a lecture or anything.
Yeah.
We It's very much focused on play.
Mm.
So what I try to do is, it depends on how many people show up, but most of the time we're with like 10, 12 people every week.
Yeah.
And what I tend to do is just let everybody introduce what type of game they brought, sort of like an
Okay.
elevator pitch.
Oh,
And
okay.
then we make smaller groups to see
Okay.
which people are interested in what game. And I also
Okay.
always keep a note about which game we already tested. Say, for example, you
Oh,
come to our meetup for the first time,
yeah.
you will always play your game first,
Okay.
because I want people to feel welcome and that they
Mm.
come to the board game meetup for a reason.
Yeah.
Because I've noticed, and I've noticed it with myself as well, it can be a very sort of like intimate project. You've been making your project
Yeah.
on your own, and maybe you tested it with your family or your partner or some of your
Mhm.
friends, but now
Mhm.
you're coming to this university building with
Yeah.
people who've already done multiple games,
Yeah.
and that can be intimidating. So I
Yeah.
don't want people to come there for no reason with their game, because they're already making a big step in bringing
Yeah.
their stuff forward and trying to show it to more people. So
Mm.
I always love to play their games first. And I try to do that with the most experienced designers, because everybody has a different background. As
Yeah.
I said,
Yeah. Yeah.
everybody does it as a hobby, or most of the people do it as a hobby. So some
Yeah.
people are teachers, some people are software engineers. Uh,
Mm.
as I said, I'm a graphic designer. Other people,
Yeah.
so everybody comes from a very, very different background, which is
Yeah.
very interesting to play test with, because
Yeah.
everybody has a different mindset of thinking about the games. And
Mhm.
yeah, so the structure is very loose. We play test the games. It depends on how long a game is, but let's say we play test for an hour, and we make sure that we have a half an hour of sort of feedback, that we can have a discussion, and then we move on to the next game if there is any game. So
how many people usually show up to each of those meetup?
yeah, between 10 to 12 or something,
Okay.
but
Okay.
sometimes way more. I mean,
Oh, okay.
one time we had 20 people, and
Mhm.
so it's not a huge group, but that's why we're
Mhm.
trying to do it bi-weekly and at different locations. So we're doing
Oh,
it.
okay.
So we're doing it basically weekly now, but at different locations than only in Amsterdam, because people
Mm.
can show up, and also a lot of people are now my friends of that group. So we
I
also
see. I
play
see.
test outside of this group. So if we really feel like, okay, we want to really dive into one specific game, we
Mhm.
just meet up next to the normal group that we have.
I see. Do you also try to partner with IGDA? For our listener that doesn't know what IGDA is, IGDA is a nonprofit international game developer association, and they have different chapter across the world, and they can also help you to connect with more people in the board game industry. Of course, for their association, they also have like designer that's for video game, but they also have board game designer. So,
We don't work with them,
oh, okay.
especially because also what you said, it's more based about on video games.
They do both. They have both.
They do
Yeah.
both? Okay, I
Yeah.
didn't even know.
Yeah.
But we work together with the SAZ, and the
Oh, okay.
SAZ is a German group,
Mhm.
and I would not try to pronounce the German name, but it's basically
Yeah.
it basically translates into the Board Gaming Guild.
Oh, okay, okay,
And that
okay.
is originally a German organization, the
Mhm.
SAZ, and
Okay,
but they also branch out. They have an Italian branch, they have a UK branch, I believe, and
okay.
and a French one, and now we are the Dutch chapter of that group.
Oh, okay,
So,
okay, okay, okay.
which is great because they provide with a lot of information, like workshops, online seminars.
Yeah,
Not everything is in English yet, but they're working on more on getting it more internationally known. And
yeah.
what they also help with is the legal aspect of things, because a lot of
Mm,
designers that come to us don't only want to publish games themselves; they want to
yeah.
look for a publisher somewhere else.
Mhm. I see.
And then you get a contract, and since your normal day job is something completely different, you have no
Yeah.
idea. So the SAZ can help with that, and they can also help connect with they have a database of illustrators and publishers and things like that, and they
Okay,
also
okay.
organize events in different places in Europe.
I see. Okay, okay, okay. Got
So we're
it. Yeah.
part of that network as well.
Okay, okay. We'll make sure we can also put that into the show note if you
Yeah,
can send us the link
I will
after the
provide
show.
you the
Yeah.
information. It's a very
Yeah.
interesting organization, and they are growing as well, especially
Mhm.
since there's now more other countries connected to it. It was first very much German focused, but they're now
Mhm.
more expanding. Um,
Mhm.
and because they also provided, I went to the Spielwarenmesse in Nuremberg, which is,
Okay.
I think it's Europe's biggest toy convention,
Mhm.
business to business toy convention.
Yeah.
And the board game aspect is only a small part of it. And
Yeah.
of course, they were also there, and they provide a day which is called the Game Inventors Day.
Oh, okay.
It's a day where people can, new designers can present their products and their new designs and stuff like that.
Oh, nice, nice, nice.
Pretty nice.
Yeah, and one thing you mentioned before our interview is also co-creation with some of the people that you met through your network and communities. And I think that's also a very interesting aspect within the board game community. Can you kind of explain or kind of share some of your experience about co-creation and co-creating some of the game that you have?
Yeah, that's the most fun part, I think, in at least our community. I don't know how that is with other communities, but everybody is really there to help each other.
Hmm.
So at some point, we felt like, why don't we do things ourselves? And that's
Hmm.
where the collaboration between the Amsterdam Board Game Design Group and my own publisher, which is called Wulfhorn Games, on which I published my first games. That's where the collaboration comes in. Those two companies or those two groups, because then Amsterdam Board Game Design is the community. Wulfhorn Games, my company, is the publisher. So at some point we felt like, okay, we can do pitches to publishers, but we want to keep the control of the games ourselves. What the theme is going to be, what the design is going to be, and then I came up with this idea of running a co-creation thing for Amsterdam Board Game Design, which I called Seasons. So last year we launched season 1, and season 1 is already out. It's these
nice.
three games that I have here in my hand.
Yeah.
And the idea is that the seasons are a co-creation project between different designers and illustrators within our community.
Oh, nice.
So
That's a good idea.
these games that I just showed you are from 3 different designers. One is mine, and 2 are from 2 other members of our community, and 2 of the games are also illustrated by members of our community. And
right.
so we ran a small Kickstarter campaign just to see if it would work. I didn't do a lot of promotion or anything. I was just like, okay, we're just going to try this out. And instead of going to publishers, we're just going to do it ourselves. I called it season 1 with, of course, the ambition to make many, many more seasons if it would be successful. So we had a very, very small goal. I just wanted to have 6,000 euros to just make a couple of games and then see what happens.
Okay.
Well, we got almost 15,000 euros, which is still not a lot of money, but it's still way more than we expected. And also with almost no promotion, only us going to local conventions and things like that.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's not bad. That's a good launch. Yeah.
Yeah, and then also just with some small influencers that I know and stuff like that. But we launched in September last year, so we were in time to have an Essen release in Germany. Spiel Essen. It's one of the biggest. I think it's the biggest or one of the biggest board game conventions in the world. In 4 days, you have about. I think last year they had 280,000 people.
No, that's a lot of people. Yeah.
So it is a huge convention. It's a very big convention.
Yeah.
I had a booth there for the first time to sell these 3 games.
Okay. Yeah.
And for a small publisher like myself, I was very happy with the results. We sold 900 copies of the games, like 300 of each game. And this one especially was a very, very, very popular one. This is called Grachtenpand, which is probably unpronounceable to other people.
Yeah.
But it's about building Amsterdam canal houses. And we had another one that's called Babel, which is about collectively building the Tower of Babel.
Okay.
And we had another one, which is called Time Zoo. And Time Zoo is a game that is basically you work for Jurassic Park, but all the animals escaped, and you have to try to get it back. So it's more family weight.
Yeah.
This is more for everyone, the Canal House game. And the Babel game is more for gamers. So the idea is, co-creation project is that we have your game night covered.
Yeah.
You buy these 3 games. We are playing games together. We invite 3 of our other friends, and we're having a game night. We can start with a lighter game and have a more involved game, and we end with a lighter game as well because we just had dinner and we maybe had a small drink, so we are a bit tired. So that's the idea, and the concept behind it really worked because I'm almost sold out of all the copies at this point.
Okay.
And we're doing a reprint. And we are working together with some partners that I found at the various conventions, mostly in the Netherlands, but also a lot in Germany, with other publishers in other countries. So now I'm working on localization and trying to get these games into more countries into more shops.
I see.
Because the games are very, very well, they're not simple, but they are from a design point of view and from a production point of view, they are quite simple to translate because they're all language independent. So these are all card games for now. We're elevating the next season to bring it to another level, but there is no text on these cards. There's
Okay.
communication with icons, and with the Tower of Babel, there is text on the cards, but it's a made-up language, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
But so it's very easy for publishers to pick this up. So we are partnering with some with partners from China, from Brazil, from France, from the US. We're talking to Spain, because the only thing that they need to translate is the rule book and the back of the box. So for them, it's a very easy thing to say, like it's like, okay, we can invest a little bit to try if this works in our market.
Yeah.
And that was the goal of this, to have not only be something approachable for gamers, but also something that will be approachable for the market. Because because of course we're trying to also make money out of this. Of course, it's not.
Sure.
I mean, it's a super fun project, but making the illustrations, doing the design, doing the play testing, it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. And that effort and that time, I also reward the designers for that. Normally, when you would know, of course, but I'm just going to explain anyway. But it's going to be normally, if I would go to a publisher with a game and say, hey, I made a game. This is the concept. They're going to do it. I just get royalties.
Yeah.
I get a percentage of royalties. And it really depends. But it could be between like 8 or 10% on possibly the wholesale price or the MSRP. But now we're doing it all ourselves, and I give the designers a 50-50 cut.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I'm not doing that because I'm such a very altruistic or free giving person.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I am, but I also really like the co-creation aspect. So I also expect that the designers invest time and money themselves. So for the Kickstarter campaign, all 3 of us in this season, we invested the same amount of money. We all went to the same amount of conventions. We play tested the games together. So it was very much a collaborative project.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed is that a lot of game designers, that aspect they like. The other things that I'm doing right now,
they don't.
No, they don't. Talking to manufacturers, going to conventions, talking to publishers, and if you already noticed, I like to talk a lot. So for me, that is, that's the fun part as well. I mean, the making of the boxes is fun, but the selling of the boxes, getting it into people's hands, that's really is fun to me. Also with distribution, fulfillment, shipping, all that stuff, it's almost a game on its own. It's almost a puzzle on its own.
Yeah, it is a lot of work, and over our time on the show, we have interviewed a lot of different designers, and that's why some people choose to go with the licensing route instead of self-publishing. Because if you go self-publishing, now you're running a real business. You need to not just think about design, you think about marketing, sales, negotiation, legals, and accounting, everything that comes with running any kind of business. And board game is not an exception to it. And not everyone, just like you say, enjoy all the other element. Maybe they enjoy the design element more than all the other element. So it was very nice for you to kind of partner with other people and really use everyone's, or at least collaborate and really try to use the everyone's from the team perspective. It's like a team collaboration effort. So that's a very interesting aspect. So I guess
you use everybody's best. You use everybody's best talents in that
talents
sense.
exactly.
So you don't. I mean, then the designer doesn't have to do the things that they don't want to do. And also, what I as a designer like, and the other designers as well, is that it will stay your vision. The game
Mm.
will stay in the vision that you feel that it should go in the direction. If you go to a publisher or you make a licensing deal,
Mhm.
they can say, well, it's very fun that you think the game should be about dinosaurs, but we think the game should be about unicorns now. And
Mhm.
because you're already very happy that you have a licensing agreement,
Yeah.
you will go forward. It also doesn't mean that I don't do licensing agreements, by the way, because I do
Okay.
licensing agreements with the foreign publishers.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of like with Amsterdam Board Game Design and Wulfhorn Games and the Seasons, we are the fire starter of these 3 games.
Mhm.
We will see which one will perform best in the market, and that is basically based on, so far, the Netherlands, Belgium, and of course the surrounding countries, because our games are language independent.
Mm.
And then we start to see which games are the most interesting to go towards licensing to other people in other countries.
Yeah, that's
Everything is sort of out
definitely
of my hands because I don't want to do production worldwide and make 100,000 copies for everyone. For
yeah.
example, for the Canal House game, we are now partnering up with a French publisher, and they are going to pick up the worldwide licensing, except for the Netherlands and Belgium. So for the Dutch-speaking market, I will do
Okay.
it, and they
Yeah.
will do it for the other things. So I will look at it from the perspective of what fits the game and what does the designer want. If
I
the
see.
designer after the Kickstarter feels like, okay, Ruud, this was fun.
Mhm.
We did one game, but now I want to do something different. That's also
Mhm.
fine.
I see. I
You know?
see. And what is your plan for U.S. expansion? You say you are currently negotiating with a publisher in U.S. as well.
Yeah, so it depends also from project to project, because next to these small projects, I'm also doing bigger projects.
I
So I
see.
also did a Kickstarter campaign that is not based on the Amsterdam Board Game Design Seasons, but
Yeah.
it's just Wulfhorn Games. It's just my company. It's
Yeah.
also a co-creation project with a friend of mine, and it's
Yeah.
called Rise of the Wastelands. And Rise of the Wastelands is a big strategy game. Like, it's not like a small box, it's one of those big boxes.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so we're talking to people in the US if they're interested in doing distribution, or
Mhm.
even if they're interested in doing uh, they are doing like publishing. So they will do the localization in the US or even in the English speaking market. I mean,
Mhm.
there's a lot of different ways I'm trying to go about it. I really try to look at the product and which product will fit the correct publisher. With the smaller
Mhm.
games, like the Canal House game, for example, my French partner, they also already have partners in the US and in China and in
Mhm.
France. So
Mhm.
that'll all go through them. So that's also something that I'm looking for,
I
like
see.
bigger partners, bigger publishers that can go into directions that I cannot, because I'm still
Mhm.
just a small publisher. I now have a couple of games, but
Yeah.
I try to get people that have more experience in that.
Mhm.
Also, it's the same as the co-creation thing. Look
Yeah.
at what other people are good at and
Mhm.
where you yourself are not as good at. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's a very good thing to look at yourself and say, okay, this is not something I can do. This is
Mhm.
not part of my skill set. So let somebody
Mhm.
else do it.
Yeah, that's very inspirational. That actually I have a lot of idea and thinking myself, how can I also do something similar in US? So yeah,
Yeah, we
because
can work together on that. Could be fun.
yeah, for sure. So what is next for you and all the two different businesses that you have this year? Are you what are some of the plans that you have? Are you going to have a season 2 here that's going to be releasing soon?
Yeah, yes. So that's the first priority at the moment is season 2.
Hmm.
Season 2 is 3 small games again
Yeah.
by different designers. I'm
Okay.
not a designer in this space. I
Yeah.
wanted to be at first, but then I met somebody who had a great game, and I wanted to have him into the project.
Hmm.
These games are going to be a little bit bigger. I don't have the boxes yet because I have a big box here next to me with all like prototypes and everything, but not like nice boxes yet.
Okay.
We're gonna launch on June 10th
Okay.
on Kickstarter.
Okay.
So if your viewers and listeners will look for Amsterdam Board Game Design Season 2, they will find it. They will see the 3 new games, and they're very diverse again and very fun. Same model, co-creation. I'm already in talks with possible publishers in other countries. So even if you don't do Kickstarter, if you don't have a credit card, because that can happen sometimes in specific countries, always a possibility to get the games. I use Kickstarter more as a marketing tool in this situation, and a pre-order to get the buzz out and to get the games out. So season 2 is going to be the next one, and we have 3 very cool games. One is actually just almost becoming a board game because it has a board and it has little wooden figures.
Oh, nice.
Not only a card and not only cards. So if you have time, I can tell you quickly about what they are.
Sure, go ahead.
One game is called Loaf, or actually Le Oaf. So it's a pun on word on like the bread and somebody being a bit of an oaf.
Okay, yeah.
And you are a baker in at a Parisian bakery.
Yeah.
And your task is, together with your friends, to bake a specific amount of bread.
I
But
see.
it's not a cooperative game.
Okay.
Because you want to do the least work as possible without getting noticed, basically, by the boss that you're not doing anything.
That's an interesting concept. Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
so you're trying to do that. There's a little bit more to it, but people can look on the website what it looks like. And and then we have another game that's called Goblin Landromat.
Okay.
And you work the laundromat as a goblin, as the name says.
Oh, okay.
You have to wash the clothing of all the adventurers that come back from the dungeon. So this is a card game. So you have some cards that have like a helmet with some sludge on it, or a breastplate, or whatever, or a hat with some magic stuff on it. And then you have some washing programs, and you need to do the specific wash for the specific item, and the specific goblin can do things. It's a push your luck game, basically.
Okay.
I mean, I talk a lot always about different types of games, but I'm not sure how everybody is, of course, very ingrained into the different type of mechanisms. But this would be a drafting push your luck game. So you're trying to prevent other people from doing laundry, and you're trying to do your best laundry. It's a bit of a whimsical, weird game. I mean, it's a weird concept. You're goblins and you're trying to do the laundry, so it's already a bit fun. And then we have another game which is called Medievalons. And Medievalons is more of what you would call a set collection game, but then with special powers. So every card has a special power, and you try to disrupt the other player, what they're doing. And you're trying to build up your guilds. And a guild is 3 of the same cards.
Okay, yeah.
That have a special power as well. Once you have 3 of these guilds, you win. But it's not that easy, because you're trying to disrupt my guild, and I'm trying to disrupt other people's guilds. But there's a little bit of mind games as well to it. Am I going to disrupt your guild? Am I going to just go for my own thing? And so there's some. It's very simple in its basis, but I've noticed it while playing it. There's a very cool like tactical layer to it. So that's season 2, and as you can tell, I'm super excited about it. So
yeah. I wish you the success on the Kickstarter campaign. I think it's going to be a very. I like how you have it like in different kind of categories, and also trying to gear it toward different age group in each of the seasons as well. That's a very interesting concept, and also I love the co-creation aspect of it as well.
So people can order one game, or they can do the whole set. So
so We are wrapping up today's interview. The last question I always like to ask the guests is, if you have to share one piece of advice with someone that's just getting started in the board game industry, what would that be?
Oh, I always have one that don't listen to everybody's advice.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
what I tend to notice with board game design, and I'm not the exception. I do the same thing, is
Yeah.
that you test your game with people, and people give you feedback on it, and you're trying to listen to everybody's feedback. So so maybe you tell me, oh, the thing should be red. Somebody else says, oh, it should have war in the game. Somebody else said, oh, why are these things cards and not tokens? And then I go back home and I'm going to change everything and listen to everybody that had feedback. So yeah, basically don't listen to everybody's advice and feedback. You are making your own project. You are making your own game. You know what type of story you're trying to make.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important that people stay true to what they originally wanted to do. And that's why I always say, don't listen to everybody's advice, which sounds a bit counterintuitive if you have a board game group that's all about giving each other advice and help. But it's not always helpful because people, and myself included, come with a bias of what they like and what they think should be in the game.
Sure.
If I could go to somebody who makes a very, very complicated strategy game and I say, oh, you should make it simpler, so also people that only play Uno understand it. That's terrible advice, because that's not what the product should do. So that's my advice. Don't listen to everybody's advice.
Got it. Thank you for sharing that. So for our listeners, thank you again for tuning in to this episode of Toy Business Unboxed podcast. We hope you have enjoyed the conversation and find it insightful and inspiring. If you like what you have heard, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode. We really appreciate your support and would love it if you leave us a review and share the podcast with your friend and colleague. For more resource tips and the latest update within the toys and game industry, visit our website at toys-launch.com. Join the conversation and connect with us on social media using hashtag Toy Business Unboxed. We would love to hear your feedback and suggestions for future episodes. Until next time, keep innovating, keep creating, keep bringing joy to toys. This is Jason Shea signing off on the Toy Business Unboxed podcast, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much, everyone.